now. So today we have a very, very special webinar, and there are several reasons for that. One, first and most important, it is the very, very first webinar in the history of X-Culture that is organized as part of the X-Culture Academy, X-Culture Kids track. We've done this for many years, and we must have had at least 100 webinars by now with all kinds of companies, including with the Finnish Schools International. But it was always for the students, for the MBA students, for the undergraduate students, or people who are in their 20s and older. This time, as you know, we have for the first time a group of school students. So we have the youngest one is 9, and then they go basically up to about 17 in age. And so we tried to select companies that are a little more, let's call it, relevant or interesting to children. And so we looked at a number of our partners, and the Finnish Schools International seems like a perfect fit. And so moreover, they have a very interesting challenge. So the question here is both business, but also a creative task of designing the school of your dreams. And if you come up with wonderful ideas, maybe some of them will actually be used by the school. So as they open new schools around the world, maybe some of the ideas that you propose will actually be incorporated in that design. So for you guys, students, I know that children sometimes don't like school. Well, here is a chance to make it better. Here is a chance to make it so the children like it. And so the speaker today is Dr. Alexin Berisha. He has been our friend for many, many years. He has participated in the project as a professor with his students, and now as a manager of a company that is a client of X-Culture, and now also as a partner in X-Culture Kids. And so the plan for today is very simple. He will tell us about his company, about a little bit about the history and a little bit about the model and products, and then we'll answer your questions. So if you have questions, you can either email them if you cannot talk, or just simply type them in the discussion board. Here you have a chat window. You can just type the questions there. Or better yet, if you have questions, just raise your hand. We will add you as one of the speakers, and you will be able to engage in a conversation directly with Professor Berisha. So this way you can literally talk to him. And I think that's it for the introduction. So Alexin, it's all yours. I guess we will start with a short presentation.
Thank you so much, Vas. Hello, friends. It's really great to be in this webinar with you. I'm very, very excited. I'm excited because we are trying to build the best schools in the world. And best schools in the world are only built for students like yourselves and with yourselves. So we were discussing for now a few years on how we're building our model, our education model, our business model, and even our design. And the one thing is that the main problem with architects is that they never ask the students when they're designing a new school. They never ask what kind of schools the students would like. And when Vas told me about the X-Culture Kids, and specifically when he told me about the challenge that he proposed so that you would design, I was so excited. Honestly, I was really, really excited, and I thought this is a great chance to include such a creative bunch of young people like yourselves, because just the idea that you wanted to join in this first X-Culture Kids challenge, it shows how forward-looking all of you are, and I'm really excited that I am able, together with my team, to work with all of you to really design the best schools in the world. So far we have done something, and I want to tell you what we have done so far. And then based on the challenge that Vas already sent to you, we're really looking forward to your ideas to creating some, I would say, 22nd century things into our school, because everyone is doing 21st century, so we should really into the 22nd. We should really look 100 years ahead with these things. Finnish Schools International is a new company opening up schools globally. We've started in the Balkans region with Kosovo, the first, Albania, Tirana, second, and Zagreb, Croatia, as our third campuses. We are based on Finnish national core curriculum, which, as you might have heard, it's considered perhaps the best education system in the world, both from OECD, PISA rankings. It has ranked for many years in the top of the PISA, as well as World Economic Forum, Economist, Intelligence Unit. They all rank Finnish education perhaps to be the best. We bring Finnish teachers to most of our schools. Over 60, 70, 80% of our teachers come directly from Finland. And we do that for one reason, because it's very hard to do it with other teachers, local teachers, in the first few years until they really grasp what it's the Finnish education all about. And in Finland, they have some of the best teacher training models in the world, and they really train their teachers well. Okay, so what kind of schools we are building? Well, we are building most and foremost fun schools. Schools where yourselves would love to come, that you would have fun. We're building schools mostly without walls. So not classical classroom style schools, but more of an open spaces where you would be able to learn the way you like, when you like it, and to really enjoy the learning experience. With lots of technology, lots of games, lots of experiential learning and outdoor learning. We're part of moving schools movement in Finland. So we spend a lot of time running around the school and outside in the yards, doing physical exercises, and standing in the classroom or just laying down. So it's not a formal classrooms as we know, but it's a way of learning in different settings and adjusting the learning to individual students' needs. Because you know, you're all very young, talented individuals. And from my 15 years experience in the education, I realized that everyone has got a talent. There is no person in this world that is not talented for something. But it's up to us, the teachers, the educators, to nurture this talent, to discover this talent, and help you even more. We value creativity more than anything else, because that's the 22nd century skill I was talking about. Of course, it's 21st as well, but I mean, it's so important that it cannot be compensated with anything else. Because as you may have seen, we see a lot of computers, robots every day, and the creativity is the main thing that helps us manage those things, manage those robots, and secure our future. One other thing is we love technology, okay? We love technology because we cannot escape technology. In 2018, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, technology will be a very important part of our lives. Therefore, we use a lot of technology to learn. We use tablets, we use all kinds of education technology and games and software to learn, but we also learn ourselves from very young age, from the age of 4, to start programming, to do robotics, to do engineering. And we have a very interesting program called Young Inventors Club. So we have a very big specialist in Finland that is working with us to develop a curriculum that helps our students to become inventors. And we really hope that we can have, in the first year, 1 patent. So our students could create something that could be patented. This guy that is working with us, he has, that would be really cool. He has tens of patents himself and hundreds of patents with students. So we're confident that we can do something in that. The idea is not to create the biggest science, and we're not a school focused on creating patents, but we just want to nurture the enthusiasm, the creativity, and the innovator's mind into our students. So we're, as you could see, we're quite innovative school. We really have high aims. We really want to do something different. But there are so many things that you could help us with. There are so many ideas that you could have. And as also Vas has worked in the challenge that you have seen or you will see in the next coming days. We want you to create the school of your dreams. Whatever you have dreamt of, we would love to hear those ideas, because I'm sure however much we have dreamt and we work with students like yours, I'm sure that there are so many things that you would do much better than us. Because at the end of the day, we want to do a school for yourselves, not for us. And that is the biggest problem that we face today in the education, that the schools are not built very much for students, for kids. They are built mostly for us, the adults, and built in the way we like them to be built. So for that reason, I'm really looking forward to all your ideas. Also, not only in the ideation part, but also in the business part, because the second part of your challenge will be to also think, okay, now we're building this dream school, but where could it be? I mean, what kind of city, what kind of country would this school be interesting? Because we have done some studies, and also with X-Culture last semester, we got 180 studies, and we haven't been able to read all of them yet. We're still working on it. But some of them are so good. And in some, you could see that there are some places that don't have much maybe potential for what we're trying to do, because they have some other ideas about what kind of education they want, which is normal, because our school is not a typical one. Okay, it's a bit outside of the box. I see a question from Chris. What is the PISA ranking? PISA is the International Student Assessment, a global ranking where 15 years old students in now 70-something countries are given the same test that measures literacy, math, and science skills of these students, and then based on the test, they do a ranking and see which country does better in these skills. And Finland is it was the number one country for many years. Now it's always top 3, top 4, but as a country is always, I think, number 1. But then you have, for example, Hong Kong, because they're very good at math, they always score fairly high. Or Shanghai, for example, as a city, scores fairly high in math and science because they're focused so much. But Finland overall, as holistic education, it's really top of the league, and it's quite different from what other systems are offering worldwide.
Yeah. We actually have a few questions that came in by email, so I'm not sure if it's a good idea to switch to question and answer now. Would it be okay?
Yes.
Yes. So who develops your educational programs? Do you do it yourself, or do you use some standardized textbooks from Finland, or how does it work?
Basically, we get the Finnish National Core Curriculum. That is our basis. And on top of that, because the different thing with Finnish curriculum compared to others is that it gives you so much room as a school and as teachers to develop your own curriculum. So we get the basis from that, and then our staff and our teachers develop it based on that. For example, we do a lot of games, and those games we integrated on top of the curriculum. I mean, you have the curriculum, and then on the delivery method, we put games. And then we developed one thing called Helpri City. It is a city within the school where students become entrepreneurs, become managers, even mayors, of the city, and they role play in that, and based on the curriculum challenges that they have, they understand how the society works, how the economy works, and develop their own entrepreneurial skills. So it's the Finnish curriculum with us putting on top of it. We also work with different publishers from Finland, but also from elsewhere, from other countries, because not all the publishers offer materials in English, in Finland, I mean. So whatever it's available, we take from Finland, and the rest we find all over the world, because there are so many innovative things, for example, in America, in USA, or even in England and in other countries. So we have that flexibility to get all of this, to find. We have a very good team, dynamic team that works in our organization, and they are constantly looking for innovative ideas, innovative material, and innovative curriculums to be added into our core curriculum.
Yeah. Aelita was going to ask a question, raised her hand. So Aelita,
Yes,
no,
actually, it's her daddy. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, please.
Okay, so the basic question is to design the school of our dream. Okay, running through the PDF documentation, frankly, it already looks like a school of our dream, already done. So the main question was, you're already building the schools. So what problems do you face already opening schools?
That's a good question.
Yes, that's a very good question. Well, we face many problems. We face that sometimes some of our ideas are a bit too advanced. For example, especially for the first country we're piloting, Kosovo. You know, it's not one of the most advanced, innovative countries out there, but we specifically chose it also because we have experience and knowledge here, but also because if we think if it works here, it works almost everywhere. So that's the first thing. Second thing that we're facing is, especially with teachers, although we have selected very good Finnish teachers, because we're still small and we can afford that. The problem is that are our teachers able to do those things? And the third one is costs, is finances. We always have problems striking a balance between really doing so much and charging so little. Being a private school, we rely mostly on tuition from the parents. So, for example, in Kosovo, we charge 4,200 euros, and that's
for the year.
Of money. That's for a year. Mm-hmm. For 1 year. That is a lot of money for here, but that's so little money if you compare it to even the International School of Belgrade, which is only 350 kilometers from here. But they cater mostly to diplomats, so they charge 25,000 euros. But their kids, over 90-something% are diplomat kids paid by the embassies. So for them, it's much easier to do that. So striking a balance between really creating some of the most innovative things in a school and being cost conscious has been a problem. So in this task, maybe also, kids could really, because they're much smarter than us, and they could always come up with ideas that would really develop or design a school of their dreams, but maybe reduce the costs, or come up with some very cost-effective ideas and ways that would improve education so much.
How do you reduce prices? You take local teachers with less salary?
Yes, but that has been our problem. When we started working on this business model 3 years ago, that was our idea. But we realized it was very, very hard to work with local teachers. Now we're developing a new program, teacher training. We have already a teacher training program, but we're developing a partnership. We're still negotiating. There's nothing yet in the table, but we're negotiating with a few Finnish universities to offer a master's degree online jointly with us. So the masters would be offered by them, but the students, so the future teachers or future teachers of ours, will spend 1 semester with us, mentored by one of our senior teachers, understanding the culture, how our school works, and mentored and coached on our pedagogy and the way we work, and 1 semester in their own local community, where they are still mentored by our teachers, but in a virtual form. So basically through virtual reality, we would put them in a school in their own community, and we will mentor them online through the Google Glasses, and we will see whatever they're seeing, whatever they're doing in the classroom, and then after they finish this lesson, we give feedback and on improving, and in this way we're trying to develop local teachers. This is definitely a cost reduction way, but it's almost impossible for the first few years until we build this cadre of good local teachers, and until we are able to train them and to get immersed them into our culture. For example, for Pristina school, all our grade 1 to grade 6 teachers are Finnish, and from grade 7 till grade 10, and we have only 2 local teachers. The rest are all Finnish teachers, because it was very hard for the beginning, but obviously with the years to come, we plan to have a balance of around 50% in that level.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for the question, and for really bringing your kids into this, I would say, wonderful program. I have been with VAS since the, I think, 2nd semester. I'm not sure if from the 1st semester, but maybe even the 1st one with X-Culture. For me, it's one of the most interesting things and one of the most important things in education development internationally. And with the kids, I think it's going to be even more interesting and really helpful for both for the kids, but also for us as companies in this context.
You met the father now, but you should meet the girl. I mean, I met her in a orientation webinar. She's only like 10, but so smart. Like, I wish my kids were like this. Anyway, a few more questions. And everybody in the audience, if you would like to ask a question, as I said, just raise your hand and we will add you to the conversation. But a few more questions here. One, what language do you use for education? Is it all in English, or is it also using, or are you also using local languages?
No, we use only English, but we emphasize languages a lot. So we're offering, in addition to English, we offer the native language. For example, in Pristina, we offer 3 hours per week. And then we're offering Spanish, French, and German as foreign languages, not all of them at the same time, but based on the age group. We're also offering very little Finnish language and culture, because we thought it would be interesting for our students to learn some basics in Finnish and to understand the Finnish culture a bit, because they're going to a Finnish school, and it helps them, it helps them to basically develop an understanding of the Scandinavia. And Scandinavia is one of the most interesting regions in the world. A lot of people, a lot of countries dream about the Scandinavian welfare state. So for us, it was important that we kind of have open the door to Scandinavia, to Finland more, but also to the whole Scandinavia for our kids. So they always have that door open. And then, of course, they could also open lots of other doors, and that was the idea with the Finnish language and culture.
So by the time they graduate, they would have basically some knowledge in essentially 5 languages: English, local, Spanish, so like German, whichever other ones you like.
Exactly. That is the idea, that the kids really thrive in languages, because all the studies say that As many languages as you speak, they help you develop the brain and help other languages. So if you do learn languages parallelly, actually they don't hinder the other one, they help you, and especially they help you with the mother tongue.
Yeah.
So the idea that we will lose our mother tongue by learning others, it's not really
The other way around.
the case. It actually helps us.
Yeah.
And you know, we see people who write very well in the mother tongue. They're very well writers, mostly because they have very good levels of language, of other languages, for example, in English or whatever.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the subjects, do you offer all of the standard subjects? Do you basically, what is the list and how is it different from the traditional list?
Well, the difference is that, for example, coding and robotics, it's in addition. Entrepreneurship, it's in addition. And what is more interesting is that with a new curriculum, the importance of subjects diminishes. So there is no clear line between the subjects anymore, but we learn based on phenomenons. So we take a phenomenon and we learn about that, and then in that phenomenon we have learning outcomes for different subjects. It could be math, it could be physics, it could be geography, it could be history, it could be so many things. It could be biology, all in one thing. For example, there is a very interesting program developed at one school in Jyväskylä, in Finland. They are combining physical education, sports, with science. And we're looking into that. We haven't done anything yet, but we are looking into integrating that kind of model into our school, where kids will do exercises, but during these exercises there are some equipment that measure their internal things, basically the blood and
Physiology, right?
exactly. So then you take those measures and you go to the lab and you do science with your own body measures.
That would
So
be
in
much more interesting. So instead of just doing some abstract problems, you measure your pulse, you measure your speed, you measure your strength, right?
absolutely.
Physics becomes, and biology and chemistry becomes so much more fun.
Absolutely. So you integrate all of them and you really understand about yourself, and you could, you know, in this way, these are things that will stay with you forever. I mean, I was one of the best students in physics in my school, not only in my class, and I remember very little from my physics, unfortunately, from my primary school, mostly because most of the things were very abstract. And one of the things that I learned really well at that time was speed. And precisely because I was doing it with my father in his car and trying to understand, oh, okay, so now the car is going 80 kilometers per hour and it goes 30 kilometers. So then I started, you know, doing calculations. I said, oh, wow, so this is the formula. I mean,
Right.
it was when I started applying it into the car, but there were so many other things that I just learned because I had to, but I didn't really understand them as a 10, 11, 12 years old kid. And we want to do the opposite. We want to really provide the kids the best way to learn things. But there are so many things that we could improve, and that's why they are here with us.
Yeah, no, I wish they did it that way at my school, because as I said, my kids, it's usually, you know, open page 23, do problems 1 through 25, right? And that's not as much fun as when you actually do things that you can touch. Mark wanted to ask a question, raise the hand. Mark, you can speak now, so you are in the room here, so go ahead if you would like to ask a question.
Hello, my name is Mark, and I wanted to ask you one question because I'm really interested in this. And you ask us to do this test for you for InnoSpark. Maybe find the maybe find a way to make choice. Make new countries where you can solve your choice. And I just wanted to ask you, you want to earn money on this, or you want children to because
Sorry, I think it's
Uh, uh, and you wanted to earn money on your choice, and or you want to your choice help children to learn something new, because it is two different situations, and I don't know on what situation I must work, because if you want to earn money, and I must to look at the situation of earning money, and if you want to help children, I need to find a way how you can help children with your choice.
So that's the big question. Are you there to, are you in this business to make money or to save the world, or both?
Well, it's, if you look at who really is saving our world, is mostly people who are making money. So we are a for-profit company for many reasons, but the main reason being because we realize only through a for-profit company we can really have the things under control and make the change. We want to create the best schools in the world, and when we do that, we could also make a little bit money. But honestly, making money was not our aim. There are so many other things that we could have made so much more money than this. It's the hardest thing, you know. Building schools is the hardest thing you can do. But in our case, we want to make a difference. So yes, you're working on a challenge where you also have to see the business side of it, right? But more than business side of it, we really want to make an impact. So there is a new field called impact investment, for example, in the world, where those investors, they still make money. You know, they invest because they make money, but they also want to make an impact. They want to change something. You know, the making money is not the main thing. It's not the only thing. So they say, well, yes, we make money, but we also provide healthcare for, I don't know, 100,000 people. We also provide clean water to 2 million people. We also provide good education to 5 million people. So this is our aim. We see ourselves as an impact company where we really impact the community. I forgot to mention, we work also with local teachers. We train local teachers in our communities, and we provide the kind of the best practices of Finnish education. We try to spread them in the countries that we operate. So it's a combination of both, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think you can save the world without any budget. And if you really wanted to make only money, just sell sugar water, sell Coca-Cola, right?
Exactly. The thing was, I was at World Economic Forum 3 years ago, and I met many Africans, especially young people. I was in these Global Shapers community event, and most of the very talented young Africans I met, when I asked them, what do you want to do and how do you see the future and what do you want to, I mean, what's the dream? Most of them talked about having a foundation, you know, creating an NGO. For me, that's wrong. I mean, foundation is the ultimate level. It's when you have so much money
Right.
that you are able to do that. But to say I create a foundation, then I beg for money from other people so I could help other people, that's a very long process. And I always tell them, you could start the change by creating opportunities for people. If you have a startup, if you create a company, you could employ one person or 5 people or 50 or 500. You already starting to make an impact there. And in our case, we educate people. And if we're educating 500, 5,000, and 50,000, we're already making that impact.
Wonderful, yeah. There is also a question I see from Gamma. She raised her hand. Gamma, if you would like to talk, we can hear you now, so please go ahead.
Okay, hello, I'm Gamma, and I would like to ask, which age group should we focus in our project?
Thank you, Gemma. Our school is from the age of 3 until the age of 18. So from kindergarten, preschool, 3 to 6, and then from 6 to 14, the primary and lower secondary, and then the final 3 years of upper secondary school or high school. So it's up to you. I think in your case, you should focus more on close to your age. So perhaps if you're in the primary school, I would say that you should focus more on the primary school. If you're in the secondary, maybe you focus more in the secondary. But it's up to you. Or you're now fifth grade, or let's say ninth grade, and then you know that you will go to the secondary school, but you hate it because you think that secondary school is so boring at the moment. So why not design the school that you would like to go for the secondary? You know, why not think of, well, this is where I want to go, and this is how this school should look like and should feel like. So I think it's up to you. From 3 to 18, it's up to you.
But you work with all age groups, right? So
we work with all age groups from 3 years old to 18 years old.
Yeah, nice. I also see there is a question from Margarita. So again, if you want to ask a question, now is a good time. Please go ahead. Margarita? Maybe there is something with the microphone. Yeah, you can talk now. All right, well, while there is probably something with the microphone, a couple more questions. How is grading marking works at your school? So if it's all game, if it's all fun, how do you actually evaluate whether or not students know their stuff?
Great. No, this is one of the most common questions and interesting questions in our case. We don't have grades until the grade 7. So for the first 6 years, no grades. This doesn't mean we don't assess and evaluate our students. In contrary, we do this much more than almost in any other system. But we don't evaluate the students to benchmark them with other students. So we don't evaluate them to say, you are an A student, you are a B student, you're a C, and now you're the failure of our class. So you are the miserable guy, and you are the star. No. Everyone in our school is a star on its own terms. So they benchmark themselves, not other students. So we do an individual learning plan for every student at the beginning, and then we evaluate them on daily basis, how they're achieving those objectives and how they are achieving the learning outcomes of the curriculum that is set forth for that age group. For example, you do a lot of games, right? That is true, and we give you tablets, and then with those tablets you could play an hour and a half at home. We give you access, and then after 1 hour, after 90 minutes, we shut down the access, so you cannot. But for those 90 hours, you could really enjoy playing, and you're having fun. But while you're playing, our partners from Teacher Gaming Desk, Finnish company, they measure how your skills are being developed. So we only allow you to play those games that are related to the curriculum and to the learning objectives that we have set forth. So while you're playing, we could see what kind of skills and transversal competencies you are developing on your play, and not only us, but your parents would see that as well. So the parent would have access to this dashboard and see every day, okay, you played today 30 minutes, you played 60 minutes, you played 90 minutes, and during those 90 minutes, you develop those and those and those skills, and you're lacking on those and those and those skills. So on the skills that you're lacking, we try to improve them more with other ways. And let's face it, 93% of kids love games. But then there is this 7% of the kids that not necessarily love games. They could play games, but they're different learners. So we try to adapt to those learners as well. For us, it's quite important that every student has an individual learning path, and that every student succeed. And for those who struggle, especially in the first few years, we provide special education, it's called. And for example, in my country, special education is very different. I mean, it means you really lack something, and they put you in a room with other students who are kind of like you. But no, in Finland, almost every student receives special education support, because we all lack in something. We're good at something, we lack in something else. And the first few years, this support is so important, and we try to give that support, especially in the first 2 or 3 years, to some students much more, to some students less, depending on their needs, until they catch up and all come to a certain level. And in our system, competition is not very important. So it's not the idea to compete. I remember myself when I was a kid, I competed with my classmates. I wanted to be the best in the classroom. And I don't know, I didn't, sometimes I feel bad that I was not very empathetic to those who were not very good. You know, I kind of enjoyed me being the best while the others were not as good as me. And in the Finnish Schools International, we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to basically stimulate collaboration, to rather collaborate than compete with each other, because only through collaboration we could all become better off. Of course, we're not saying that everyone is the same. We understand every individual is unique in its own way, and precisely because they're unique, we think they could all bring something into the table. And if we're able to bring them together, make them work together, miracles will happen.
And that's a wonderful philosophy. I wish more schools did it. I understand it's probably more difficult than just giving everybody a standardized test, but it's definitely a better way to go.
It's much more difficult.
Right. We have only a few more minutes left, but we have Tatiana, Margarita, and Mark trying to ask questions. So please go ahead, whichever one goes first. Just unmute your microphone and go ahead with the question.
Okay, can I start?
Yes, please go ahead.
This is a very important question for me. How do you motivate teenagers? Because 1 or 2 years ago, I faced with the problem that I don't know why I'm studying, why I need it,
Right.
and I don't know what to do.
Tatiana, this is the several billion-dollar question. It's not $1 million question, because this is the most important question of our age, to motivate all our students, but especially teenagers. We try to provide education relevant to them. That's first thing. Second thing, we try to provide education based on phenomenons rather than subjects. We try to give them choices. So the upper secondary, you choose more your path, whatever would you like to learn, rather than we enforcing you to take this and this and that and that. So you have much more freedom to choosing things. We give you more freedom in the way you learn and develop. This is one way. Also, if you look at the Finnish education system, we try to make learning fun as we can, to make the school a place where you go and enjoy, not just a place where you have to go. You know, we provide a lot of incentives, clubs, languages for you to choose based on your own interest, based on the things that you would like to do with your life. So that's how we're trying. But there are still challenges, especially with teenagers and upper ages. We have a lot of work to do. And I think here you could help. Here you could tell us what it is that would really motivate you to learn. How would you envision this learning? I mean, for example, for those, we do this Help City, and we're trying to spend a lot of time with our students within the city. You know, so they don't go to the classrooms, but they do learn geography and whatever, and history and business at the same time within the Help City. So they spend more time and do things that they like, but this, by trading with a company in China, they learn about geography, they learn about history, they learn about communication, they learn about culture, they learn about business, all at the same time. We're encouraging these things, but still there are challenges, and I think here you could really do a lot in designing this dream school.
You all are teenagers yourself, so if you can tell us what motivates you, maybe we can use it to motivate others.
Exactly.
Mark, Margarita, we have only a few minutes left. Please go ahead because we have another webinar at 10, so in 10 minutes. So if you would like to ask your questions, go ahead now, please. Margarita, Mark, whichever one wants to go first.
Maybe me.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I'd like to ask you one question about what you said. You said that parents know how much time their children played games, and don't you know that? Don't you think that if children will tell his parents by himself how much time he played or something like that, it will teach him to tell the truth to the parents, not to lie, and to think about his time that he spent on the games, not when you or another teacher tell his parents that he played the games every day and he played a lot of games.
Yeah, that's true. Empathy is very important, and you know, if you look at our mission, it's at the core, it's good citizens, good people. We're trying to develop good human beings. Okay, if we're able to develop good human beings, as you say, young people that don't lie, that are honest, then professionally they could always improve. But it's very hard to improve as a person later on. So to instill the values, the foundations of humanism and of kind of morality from the beginning, it's very important in our system, and it will be one of the most important things of the next 20-30 years. We try to develop those skills, but also we give parents access to their kids' learning, because for us it's very important that the parents are not just indirect agents in their children's learning, but they are directly involved, helping them, but not distracting them. So they are there helping, looking how their kids are progressing. But I agree with you. I agree with you on this, and this could be maybe one of the things that you would propose in the project, and we would definitely want to elaborate further and develop something over your lines. I think it's very important.
Yeah, robots can do math. We need more humans, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Margarita, did you have a question too? There must be something with the microphone there. A couple of people asked by email about you, Alistine, as a manager of a company. So I understand you are a teacher first and foremost, but now you also have to manage a company. How is it different? What are the main challenges? Many of these kids would like to become business owners one day. Any advice on that end? Is it worth it? Do you get any?
Yes. Well, it's I have always been an educator, but also an entrepreneur throughout my life. It's very fulfilling to change other people's lives. It's the hardest thing. And to become a successful entrepreneur, I would say there are 4 elements. It's the idea, it's the product, it's the team, but more than anything else, it's execution, how you execute. Before everything else, it's the timing. You have to be right time, right place if you really want to be successful. You know, for many years, we looked at why startups fail, why those new initiatives fail. There were so many things. And at the end of the day, timing is perhaps the most important element. But the main challenge is we have remote locations. We manage the company when some of my colleagues are 10 meters from me, but then some are 3,000 kilometers, and I have colleagues that are 6,000, 8,000 kilometers away, and we all have to work together, just like you have to work in the X culture.
That does sound a little bit like X culture, yes.
So it's not easy, but it's also very stimulating. So if you want to run your own companies, I would say go for it, and don't expect that your first will be success, but don't accept failures, because you'd never fail. You just learn.
Learn.
So you're learning from one experience to the other. I have done many other things before, not very successfully. I have done some other things that were more successful. And with the Finnish school, you know, I meditated for 2 months in my apartment, didn't even go to the office, and started developing the business model of this, and also put in the room a big wall with my failures, what I have learned, and how this translates to the Finnish Schools International. So I tried to really get all the learnings I got throughout the years and see how do I apply those learnings into this. So you will see that life is a journey, and you learn every day.
Right. Makes perfect sense. Well, thank you so much. So we're pretty much out of time. It is time to switch to the next webinar. If you have any more questions that you couldn't ask, you can always send an email, and we will have another webinar with Professor Berisha in about a month. So by that time, you will have worked on the project for a while, and you will still have some time left. So you will be able to ask more questions, and then maybe even get some feedback so you can use it in the remaining weeks. Thank you so much. I know it's a busy Monday for you, so thank you for
Thank you, Vas.
us.
It was great pleasure. There is one frequently asked questions with the last group of X-Culture. I think you could have access to that as well. That is posted in the previous semester, I guess. So you could also take a look at some of the questions that the students asked in the previous cohort, and you could see our answers. But as Vas said, feel free to contact me. We will try to answer you 48 hours max.
Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, good luck with the challenge students. So hopefully you will choose this company, and we'll provide good ideas. But we have one more choice, a company that makes toys, and we will go to that webinar in a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Bye.